I think we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Feels, hosted by Ricardo Sturdivant on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Right now, we're beaming out to several different places. So if you guys are watching, just tag a friend in the chat or comment where you're watching from, because we would love to hear. Of course, we welcome positive reviews and comments always. Beyond these live shows, all of these Reinventing Network shows, jams, drawing groups, interviews, and panels can be watched anytime, anywhere on our YouTube channel, reinventingthetattoo.com, as well as our pretty sweet streaming 24/7 Roku channel. The Roku channel is actually relatively new, but pretty awesome. If you want to find it, search for Reinventing the Tattoo on your Roku device for 24/7 streaming content. We have several weekly shows and drawing groups happening almost every single day. If you're watching right now, you're welcome to tune in or even hop on the Zoom with us. It's really easy, super fun to do. You can hop over to our YouTube channel also to set up reminders for upcoming events. Otherwise, I want to run through some of the stuff we do weekly because they're super fun to jump on. We've got Jason in the house, and on Sundays at 1 p.m., we have Skill Building Sundays led by Jason. We encourage you guys to bring something you're working on, or if you have questions about it, Jason is always an excellent source to get straightforward, honest answers in a judgment-free atmosphere. Monday mornings at 9 a.m. is James Wisdom's Reinventing Drawing Group, drawing for tattooers actually, followed by the Tattoo Weekly Monday mornings at 11, hosted by myself, Gabe Ripley of Tattoo Now, and Jake Meeks of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Otherwise, Monday evenings is the Evolution class at 9 p.m., led by legendary Guy Aitchison. Right now, the second trimester is underway. If you guys would like additional info on that type of stuff, go to classrooms.reinventingthetattoo.com to see our new learning platform. Right here on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. is Tuesday Feelings with Ricardo. Wednesdays at noon is a Tattoo Now show, followed by the Reinventing Business course every other Wednesday at 1. As you guys know, every Thursday at 6 is a Tattoo Collecting 101 led by Fawn. And beyond all of these virtual shows, we've got some real world events that we're actually pretty stoked about. Coming up next would be River City Tattoo Invitational by Tony Urbanik. And July, after that, we've got so much going on. But at the end of August is Health City, August 26th. And before we kick off the show, as always, we like to shout out to our sponsors for helping us push this content to all of you all the time for free. We've got Alex's World Tattoo Events at worldtattooevents.com with the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. We've also got Raw Pigments, an ink company that is tapping into the source with acrylic-free inks that have been impressing artists around the world. If you're watching right now and you want to support Reinventing and Raw, you guys can use the code Reinventing the Tattoo, all lowercase, at checkout for 10% off any ink purchase. Also, thank you to Tattoo Now. As you guys know, Gabe Ripley, he provides technology and organization for tattooers for decades. Last but not least, the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison. You guys can find his Biomech Encyclopedia, DVDs, machines, paintings, and more at his website, guyaitchison.com. Also, thanks to our affiliates, Fireside Tattoo Network, The Apprenticeship Diaries, ecofriendlytattoosupplies.com. If you guys like this type of thing and you want to host a Reinventing event or to sponsor our community, send us an email at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Now, after all that, I'm going to get out of here and bring in my beautiful host, Ricardo, and there's Jason as well.
Hey, beautiful. Thank you. I'll take that.
How's it going, gentlemen?
Yeah. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Can I give a quick shout out to Forrest over at Tattoo Smart?
Go for it. He's the shit.
Forrest, you're the man. Thank you. Forrest jumped into my session on Sunday. We were talking about Tattoo Smart's new community platform. It's called Launchpad. There's like a whole sign up link and all that stuff. I haven't really mentioned it in the past just because I didn't know if I should be, because they were keeping it kind of hush hush.
Yeah.
But I got the okay the other day to name drop it and mention it. So I just wanted to say, Forrest, you're awesome. That community is turning out to be incredible. So if you guys are interested,
tomorrow night at 7 about pigments, will you be there?
Yes, I should be. I don't think I've got too much going on. That's at the community standards meeting, right?
I didn't remember that title. I thought it was just a Pigment Conversation hosted by someone, but yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, because I know that there's another one going on tomorrow night as well. But yeah, it's so for anyone that's watching, and Lauren, we can talk offline about that, but yeah, I probably will be there. anyone that's watching it, this is a vetted community of tattoo artists that have X amount of experience, where it's an open place to go through and ask questions that you might not want to ask on like Facebook groups or, in a studio setting with other people there that don't tattoo. So if you're one of those people where you're kind of looking towards the community to help you out with a couple of things, or, maybe you're looking for advice on something, maybe you're trying to move from coils to cartridges, take a look at the community. There's artists from all over the country and all over the world that are there, from the UK and New Zealand to all over the US and Canada. It's turning out to be an absolutely great resource. That's Launchpad Tattoo Community. Yeah, it's great. Just send Tattoo Smart a message and see if they have the link to join. And you have to go through and fill out an application. And it does cost money, but that's also because it's a quality, like vetted community of respectable tattoo artists, where it's not just a whole bunch of people bashing each other. Like, oh man, oh, you stink, you should never be tattooing in the first place, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is here for. It's here to help. So I don't know. That's my 2 seconds of
Pretty cool, man. So
Well,
you've
even
been on
though-
there and you love it?
it's
on
pretty
there,
cool,
you love it?
man.
Yeah.
I think so too. It's like, I basically just joined Russ asked me about it and sent me the invite, which is cool. So I was just a little, just curious about the whole thing. So I signed up and I've been checking it. It's kind of like it replaces time that I would spend doing nothing on social media with actual sustenance to it. So I really do like it.
Yeah, you know what, man? I've been kind of slowly slipping away from the social media thing. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like it's been kind of reinvigorating to me to like kind of tap back into like the real life aspect of talking to other artists and stuff like that, and like kind of seeing their stuff in person. And it's also kind of helping me, start to draw by hand again on paper with pencils and pens and markers and paint and stuff like that too. You know what I mean? I don't know. We've had this discussion before about things like the iPad and everything like that. And I know Jason, you're formidable in it. You're like a Jedi master with the Procreate app, man. Just ask Jason, he'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no. But yeah, that's cool though that you can have a community like that instead of just randomly just swiping up, swiping up, swiping up, swiping up. You know what I mean? So like there's so much stuff out there, so much filler. But there was one thing that I wanted to ask Jason about. What was it?
I
Sometimes
didn't
you
do it.
post
I wasn't there. It couldn't have been me. I did not have a donkey with me.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know because that could be dangerous and possibly
Without the donkey.
question. Yeah, exactly.
The answer, of course, Ricardo, is cereal.
42. Yeah, cereal. Cheerios. Cheerio.
Not today, but usually yes.
Oh man, dude. Yeah. I think the other day you posted a reel though. And what did it say? It said something about know yourself, know your emotions, and know what you're how did it go? Do you remember that one?
Being able to control your emotions and your
Right.
reactions
Yeah.
is the first step to knowing yourself, right?
Right. Mhm.
I think it was that one.
Yeah, that's and then don't settle was it was
Yeah,
like
I
three
never
like that
steps.
one
settle.
too.
You can't.
Yeah.
A lot of people get into a situation where they don't know what they don't want.
Yeah.
So they're willing to settle for anything, and they're like, well, this is already here. Don't settle. Don't ever settle. When
Yeah.
you decide that you're going to settle and accept things just the way that they are, and you're not going to try to improve, that's the first step into feeding yourself, no matter what
Yep.
your journey is. You can't settle. You have to know that you are worthy of greatness.
Yeah. Everything the world has to offer and everything like that, right? But let's talk about that for a second, man, because it had me thinking. It's been having me thinking the past few days for sure. this process that comes along with that ideology or that statement. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the not settling part first. Where do you feel that you are whenever it comes to that concept? Like, I mean, where do you? I guess that's not the right way to ask it. How do you feel about the struggle that makes that uh, unattainable at times? You know what I mean? Like, as far as the steps you take to decide, okay, am I settling or not, and then the adjustment period. Like, what do you think that you would do as far as like maintaining the current position and then changing and altering the course? Does that make sense?
So yeah, I know what you're trying to get at, and
Yeah.
that's something I'm a very big advocate of, and it's something I've done a lot of like self-reflection and analysis on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to a very, very clear answer to that. And that's find out if you are struggling. Okay. Look at yourself, look at your situation, where you are in life. If you are struggling, then you are not settling. You are in motion, you are moving, you are learning, you are gaining more knowledge, whether it's how to overcome a financial crisis, whether it's how to be better with money, whether it's how do I organize my own schedule better, whether it's where do I find my work-life balance. You're going to struggle if you have movement. There's going to be points and times in everyone's life where you can't help it. Your life is going to throw stuff at you, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because that means you have motion, whether that's, forward motion or sideways motion. It doesn't really matter. It's still motion. That means you're still learning. So look for those times when you're struggling. Look, if you're not struggling with anything, then you need to work harder. You need to create that motion. You need to seek out things that are going to teach you something new.
Mm-hmm. The self-reflection. Go ahead.
I think like a lot of times the recognition of the question, or like as soon as that question comes up and it like kind of should be the trigger to know that maybe something should change, just the recognition of the realization should tell you. And it's hard to be like, okay, so what should I change, or how do I push myself? But push yourself until you know that you're struggling, rather than questioning it.
Yeah.
Very good observation.
Yeah. That's pretty rocking. Yeah. I think that definitely goes hand in hand with that self-reflection part. You know what I mean? The self-reflection is so hard to do sometimes. And I think that settling kind of comes into play whenever it is the self-reflection, because of the fact that we don't want to do it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys agree with me, or if you can shed any light on it from your perspective, but I know for me, for a long time, it's been avoiding the self-reflection. You know what I mean? And like, there's some hard truths that come up whenever you go through that process. So, you know what I mean? And then you find out that, was I settling? Am I settling? And then what do I need to do to get back on track? You know what I mean?
I think one thing too, Ricardo, is like there's different aspects of our life. And, and like the thing I preach literally all the time is to practice empathy. I know we've spoken about that several times, but like you can practice, there's like different aspects of your life. So say your tattooing aspect of your life, your artistic aspect of your life, you can practice the struggles there if you really want to succeed in other parts of your life as well, or something controllable, essentially, where you know that you're going to struggle in your art, to kind of boost those capabilities in other aspects of your life as well.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I think that's what's gravitated me back towards this analog way of drawing. And I use that term now because it's such a relatable term, you know what I mean? But I'm just talking about drawing by hand, you know what I mean? And painting and stuff like that. Like a lot of the tattoos I've been drawing lately have been done by hand again. You know what I mean? Like I'll literally lay a piece of plastic over a person's arm, trace out the space and stuff like that, and then just start drawing with Sharpies, like real rough and stuff like that, and then go back in with some microns after that. Like getting reacclimated with that like almost ritual process to it, you know, to the old way of doing tattoos and the old way of doing drawings and stuff like that. It's been it's been not only comforting, but also um somewhat of a familiar space where I'm entering into some territory in my life now where it's very unfamiliar. You know what I mean? And I mean that in the sense of I am now at the point where I am understanding empathy from a different perspective entirely. You know what I mean? And like listening to the things around me that I wouldn't normally have before, you know, and I think it's so crazy to think about that in a sense that things are what we make them so much that we forget that there's this like reading between the lines kind of area, you know. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but that was my tangent. Yeah.
I think, yeah, there's a lot in all of our lives, and me knowing you a little bit more personally, it's like, and I can see a little bit where you're going with that, but in terms of like your art and such, it's cool to kind of take out some of those personal issues, take it out on your art, you know?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm trying to go with it. Thank you for bringing me back on track, because that's exactly it. It's like, yeah, you know, you reacclimating with the familiar, you know what I mean? And then like recognizing that it can be, you're approaching it from a new, fresh perspective. You know what I mean? You're familiar with the process, but it's going to be a new outcome because of the new things that you're learning about yourself, about your art, and about your journey. You know what I mean? And where you want to be. And it's definitely done that for me, like learning what I have been learning with the Reinventing crew over the past year and a half or so. It's like, oh man, it's just blown everything out of the water, you know, as far as like all the techniques to use to kind of make a stronger visual impact with the tattooing that we do and stuff like that too, you know what I mean? And so it's been pretty awesome. How about you, Jason? Would you say that you can relate to something like that, like kind of going back to familiar areas? Or are you more with like online with like, let's just ditch everything and let's start all brand new?
I like bananas.
Bananas are good, man.
Do you eat them from the
Um,
top or bottom?
Bottom. It's the new school way to do it.
Yeah, same.
You guys don't pull the stem off, you pull the little button off first.
Yeah, that's how
you
you're supposed to
hold
do it.
You hold, I mean, have you seen a chimp or something, or like a monkey eat a banana?
Yeah,
I
they
guess
hold
you're
it
right.
upside down.
Yeah.
It's got a handle.
And you know, it's funny
Sorry
too, because
for
whenever you hold on to the little stem and you try to snap it off, it doesn't always snap off. Most of the time, it just mushes that first like top layer of it. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. It's like malto meal on a stick. Yeah.
Now I've to get back to your initial question, you know, I'm one of those people where I'm constantly trying to push myself to do different things, to explore different ways, and then dropping back, revisiting fundamentals, and then continuing to push forward again.
Mhm.
I'm one of those people that's I like to set up different times where I work with different things, mostly because I look at it like working with weights, right? Some days are leg days, some days are arm days, some days you do chest and back, some days you do, you know, deadlifts. You know, some days I stay away from curls just because like biceps kind of useless. It looks
Your
nice,
gun,
but
your
not
guns are
really.
already just too big for the show, the gun
You
show
know,
anyway. Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm just joking. I inflated that before I did that. So I've got like a little pump on the back of my arm. I just squeeze it a few times and it blows my bicep up. But you know, I look at it like working with weights, right? I'm gonna find something that I need to improve upon, whether it's color palettes or ambient inclusion, or maybe I need to work on neutralizing color tones, or maybe I need to work on blocking in forms or anatomy, or you know, anatomy has been like my thing for the past like year, is just trying to work on that, because I knew that was an area that I was always falling short with, you know? And so it's like, okay, I have spent like the past year trying to include anatomy into like most of the stuff that I've drawn that requires it. Um, you know, a lot of the different paintings I've done have involved anatomy. Some of the large scale designs that I've come up with this year have involved that. So it's really, to me, about working on those things that you know you need to improve upon and revisiting certain things. Perfect example, I made myself a New Year's resolution this year that if I was going to create a work of art to completion, it was not going to be done digitally. I might lay it out or sketch it out or draft it out digitally, but all of the completed works of art that I plan on doing this year, that's all going to be analog. And analog is a very good term to use because you're using your hands. You have dexterity with your hands. You are using those to create. That is like the definition of analog. Probably not the exact definition, but it's conveyed. Anyway, so it's like anything I paint or draw, that is going to be done by hand. That is going to be done using whatever medium I have available, whether it's oils, whether it's watercolors and liquid acrylic, whether it's markers or whatever. I'll paint with my own blood if I have to. It's been done before. I know it's not a new concept, but
it's a statement.
It is.
It's a statement.
Hey, Jason, I have a question. Ricardo, this question might answer your question.
Okay.
Maybe. So if you're trying to build your skill set and say anatomy or color palettes or whatever, and you've been building this skill set for a year, right? Would you go back into it with the same skill set that you had in the very beginning and expect to go back to where you've been with that year experience? So in other words, would you deny that whole skill set that you developed for that period of time, like Ricardo, when you're asking those questions, and then jump back in without kind of recognizing that? That's kind of like the insanity behind, I'm kind of forgetting where I'm going at, but the insanity behind not, like the struggle, basically the struggle is producing that skill set, and to start over without that fresh would just be like ridiculous.
It would be.
I absolutely would.
Yeah, I think
I would. It's insane. Yes, but that's what you have to do. It's repetition.
That's
the way I see it.
You're definitely not taking all the experience you've built, and you're not just starting all over. Like, I think no matter what, and even at even if you decided, okay, I'm gonna just throw it all out, whatever, and then I'm just gonna start all back over and forget everything. But even at a subconscious level, I think that it's still there. You know what I mean? Because like it's changed us. You know what I mean? Like the reactions that quote was talking about, you know, our emotions and stuff like that quote was talking about, that's literally in our DNA at some point in time. You know what I mean? Like the experiences that we have, the life that we live, the choices that we make, the reactions that we've had, the interactions that we've had, the relationships we've had. And I don't mean just like in an intimate level. I mean like relationships in general, like what we're doing now even. You know what I mean? Like you're perceiving these things and they get in there and they change things up. You know what I mean? So there's no way that you can really not have them there to some point. I think the thing that I've been doing lately is struggling with the fact that it is there. You know what I mean? And like kind of like focusing on just that in a sense.
But you should kind of almost love it because you recognize that in the term of an equation, without that aspect of it, there's really no answer, you know,
right?
And you kind of appreciate it for being there as a stair. Like a stairs suck. Like I hate stairs, but like at the top is the door to get into the building.
Yeah. So we carry those perceptions and those concepts with us then. That's kind of what you're saying, because it's like one of those things where it's like
it's building blocks essentially. It's just take it and accept it and almost love it because you know you're making progress with it.
That's funny that you said that because I was at the gym this morning. I joined the new gym and it's awesome. I went at 5 a.m. this morning. They have 5 a.m., 6 a.m. classes and stuff like that. And I like getting up and getting it out of the way. And then I went on a walk after that. And I was thinking about a lot of these things today. And I was thinking about the word embrace. You know, the word embrace just kept coming into my head. And like the fact that what you're saying right now is like, we have to hold it in. You know what I mean? You have to hold it to a point that you understand it. You know, like don't embrace all the suckiness of it. Just embrace the fact that it's happened. And then like, what do we do with it next? You know what I mean? Instead of like avoiding it. And I think a lot of us sometimes like think about all the amount of times you just crumpled up a piece of paper because you've done a drawing. You're like, oh, this sucks. I hate it. I'm just gonna crumple it up and throw it all away. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I'm saying about like this whole starting over thing. Like, I finally started, like, I moved from one shop to another, and I've had a bunch of stuff in my garage, and I just started unpacking all the sketches and stuff. And I've looked through some of the books that I have, and there's just so many drawings that I knew I hated them at the time, but I'm looking at them now, and it's like, man, I think I actually kind of like these, you know what I mean? But I hated them at one point in time, and I would have thrown them away. I would have crumpled it up and thrown it away. But the fact that I put it away for a little while, you know what I mean, and left it alone, and you come back and you see it, and it's like you fall in love with it again.
It kind of shows you that your mindset gets in the way a lot, that current mindset. It's like what you think versus like what you're expressing. And what you express usually is not the same as what you think, especially in the time.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's pretty incredible that you nailed it, Lauren, because I think that's, you put in the words for me perfectly. Because yeah, man, it becomes our reality, right? And I've talked about that a lot, like what we perceive, what we think, that becomes that moment right then and now, and it makes it very physical for us. You know what I mean? And I think it's the hardest part is getting out of that mindset, or maybe you're not supposed to get out of it. Maybe we're supposed to just embrace it, but try to utilize it in a different capacity, right? And I think that's the thing, is like, where do we go? Where do we start? Like, do we just sit back down and just start refocusing that energy? How do you refocus that energy? You know what I mean? And then I think it's something that we all struggle with daily.
You know, you
I
could
don't think
label some of those feelings colors, and just like Jason was talking about, where you like practice one thing of your life, and you apply it to other things. You know, you color code your feelings, and then muted tones are beautiful. Like, you just, you know, kind of move according and kind of shift your perception of what's going on. Like, it still can be beautiful. Just depends on how you look on it. At it depends what colors you put together.
Yeah, you're right. And with those 5 basic colors, you can create a lot of different hues and values too.
And some of the colors are not as beautiful as some of the others, but they do mix together beautifully.
Some
So
of them
like,
are muted.
if you can be super sad, but you're also super ambitious, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I mean, think about it like this, right? Without some of those colors that aren't quote unquote quite as beautiful, right?
Exactly. This is exactly where I was going to go. Go for it. I love
Without
it.
those, how do you really know what a beautiful color is?
Not only that,
if you have a puke green right over here,
I love that
right?
color.
Think of vomit green, okay? And then put a bright cerulean blue next to it, right? Now take a bright orange and put a cerulean blue next to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that blue going to be as bright next to that orange or next to that vomit green?
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, man. Go ahead. You have what?
I was going to say, you have to have something to contrast it with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's got to be that experience, right? There's got to be that color.
You have to have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just, I mean, if you can, you speak an artistic language, and if you can kind of fool your brain into being like, oh shit, jealousy is red, and every time I see red, let me throw in some yellow. So in other words, like, shit, like, let me look at my skill set like a toolbox and say, shit, that's a hammer. I need a wrench. And then it's gonna like force yourself into the wrench situation, which would be something like feeling uncomfortable, or something like trying a new medium, or something like calling someone you haven't in a while. You kind of counteract, but like those deliberate decisions you can kind of trick yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of forcing yourself to do something that scares you or makes you uncomfortable every day.
Oh man,
one thing every day
that.
to push yourself.
I've been doing that for a little while now, dude. I agree with you. I've been doing it for a little while now, man, and sometimes I need a break, dude. Sometimes I think.
Well, I mean, you rest between sets when you're working out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why is life not exactly like working out?
It's true. I mean, if you're gonna make it into like that kind of an analogy, I could see where you're going with it for sure.
You're going to take
Absolutely.
some rest breaks. Those are your vacations. Those are your times where you step away from that. You're going to have things that you're working on day in and day out every single day to build that muscle.
Or life
You're
skill
going to
set.
exactly. You're going to have things like that. And you know what? Maybe you're not going to feel like going to work out that day. Maybe life's saying, hey, you've got a muscle cramp in your left arm. So maybe we're not going to do arms today. Maybe we'll work on legs again. Maybe we'll work on chest. Maybe we'll do something. Maybe we'll just do cardio, right? There's always something that can be worked on somewhere. And life's going to throw stuff at you sometimes, like random muscle cramps. It happens, right?
Big time, bro.
But when you look at your random muscle cramps and you're thinking back to your body, don't forget that like, you're like, oh, it hurts so good. Why can't life be like that? Hurts so good. You know?
Well,
Come on, babe.
if we're
It
looking at
hurts
that
so
as like
good.
the analogy, life's going to throw stuff at you sometimes that is, it's going to be one of those muscle cramps that you're just not going to want to deal with. You know, say the passing of a loved one, right? That's going to be a severe muscle cramp. Been there, done that. Wasn't fun. But it's something that helped me grow. And it's something that helped push me out of my comfort zone to become who I am today. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't necessarily want to go back through and think at that time, like, I need to work on anatomy. That was like the last thought in my mind. It's like, okay, instead of working on my drawing skills during this time, I'm going to start working on my mindset. I'm going to start working on looking at my life and what is my path? What am I doing to work on things? You know, what am I doing not to compensate for it and not to work my way through it, but to go through and turn around and say, okay, you know what? I can learn from this. You know,
Guys, if you don't
sometimes
mind,
it's not a like that.
I hate to do this, but let me interrupt real quick and call out to everybody in the YouTube chat. First of all, none of your business. Always take the banana from the side. It's good advice.
My man.
What's up, creature? James says hello. He's like, the anatomy is so important, including learning the names of anatomy, and that will help with drawing and understanding. So James, you guys can catch him Monday mornings at 9 a.m. for the Drawing for Tattooers. Otherwise, past episodes are on YouTube. Also, our dear friend Bruno says, what's up? How's it going?
Bruno.
If you guys have any feelings, pop them in the chat. We'll talk about it, you know, or like your perspective on what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, everybody, just chime in if you have anything to say, for sure. It's a pretty good conversation today, I think. You know, we were talking about those colors a little bit ago, you know what I mean? And them being muted or somebody not liking like those like weird drab tones and stuff like that. What I've learned is that over this past year and a half is that I knew more about color than what I thought I did. And I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have been able to perceive that unless I would have spoken up about it and said, I don't think I know anything about color. And somebody's like, well, yeah, you do. Look at this. And I think that was Jason that said that to me. And you know what I mean? So like, it's like that shift of perspective, right? And then also to say that those muted tones and understanding colors is that some of those tones actually bridge you from one bright color to another. You know, so like without those muted murky little tones and stuff like that, you wouldn't be able to walk across that next color.
There you go, Ricardo.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Life's really not tattooing, art, business. It's kind of a lot of the same concept as that. You know, you definitely have people call it ups and downs. People call it whatever you want to call it, but definitely appreciate it and recognize it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I'm happy you two are my friends.
Likewise, Jason, for sure.
It's right here.
So Ricardo, what would be like, for example, a way that you could practice that in some of the analog stuff that you're working on? What's a realistic way that you could kind of bridge that gap between what you feel or like, you know, pushing yourself that you can practice on that canvas or whatever you're going to use and apply it to your regular life?
Channeling energy. You know what I mean? I think that's the first thing that pops into my head is just channeling the energy in the right place, in the right direction. Understanding that I just saw this thing on Disney last night. There's these little short snippets of these draft artists that draw some of the characters for Disney, and they talk about their experience and becoming a Disney artist and everything like that, and like what led them up to that point. And I always talk about that, like we're everything we are from our past up until this very point, right? And they talk about that and the experiences that they have that led them up to that moment. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for me, like channeling the energy. And they talk about that a little bit, like some of them lost some loved ones and stuff like that, like Jason was saying. One lost a mother to cancer and everything like that. But being able to honor them, so to speak, whenever they are appreciating that the place that they're at, I think is important for me as far as the analog part of it. And like I said, appreciating where I'm at, where I came from, learning how to tattoo, how to design for tattoos in that respect, and now stepping back from it for a while and then reapproach and coming back to it with a fresh set of eyes and being able to value it that much more. And I think more than anything, it's the ritual of it. You know what I mean? Having the pens, having the pencils, having the markers, having the papers have to be ready. The certain stages that it goes from sketch to final drawing and stuff like that, and then fitting it to the body and everything like that too. Some of the adjustments you might have to make. But I will say though, after this last year and a half, using Procreate as a tool, I've actually been able to do a couple drawings where it fits almost right away. You know what I mean? Because I have been able to perceive it in that like kind of, I don't know, a little bit more of a dimensional aspect, I think. But does that answer the question? Channeling the energy, for sure.
Yeah, that does answer the question.
Cool. Yeah.
I've got an exercise for you guys.
What's that?
This was an exercise my high school art teacher sat down and challenged us with one day, and we had like a week to do it. And I always found it to be really, really enlightening, because bouncing off of what Lauren had to say about the colors, working with that when you're going through different emotions, pick an emotion, assign it a color, and close your eyes, right? Think of whatever color it is. Now, think of the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking about just that color. All right. If you're thinking about red, what do you see? Do you see a red bow? Do you see lips? Do you see a stop sign? Do you see a balloon? What do you see? And then portray that color without using color. So everything you draw, everything you paint, whatever you're sketching or drawing or marker renderings, it's all black and gray. But it needs to be able to convey that color. And it was tricky. It was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's
color,
because I picked.
This is what James Wisdom has to say, and it kind of, I'll expand on it shortly. Color has value, temperature, and intensity. Find harmony, balance, and rhythm through design, and the rest will take care of itself. So in other words, like color has several properties as in life, but these properties aren't all visual. And actually a color has a feel, as you can see in that sort of exercise, and be like, oh yeah, color has a feel. Same kind of concept.
Absolutely.
What if our color is tie-dye?
Is it? Actually, guys, one time I got Jason down in his undies once, and he wasn't planning on it, and they were tie-dye.
It was kind of awkward, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Bob Tyrell was there, Derb was around the corner.
There was multiple people in there.
It was awkward, to say the least.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but I do have, a lot of different colorful tattoos. And I try to, get as much colorful tattoos as I can. But that also involves a lot of desaturated tones. So, because that allows those bright colors to stand out. But I completely
you-
agree with what James was saying. You need to have rhythm. If you're going to put yellow in one spot, put it in another spot too to balance it out. Don't just have it in one area.
unless that's your highlighted area, right? But yeah.
Well, true.
Well,
That's
even
going to be
then-
your area of primary focus, but you still want to find a way to tie that in through the rest of the painting somehow. That way everything's cohesive. Of course, you know, as you mentioned, yes, colors like white, pure white should only be used for like pure highlights. Certain accent colors only in certain areas that you really want to draw the eye to, different things like that. But generally speaking, if you're going to do yellow here, do yellow here. If you're going to do blue here, do blue there. Balance, have that rhythm, have a graduation of patterning. And then that's going to help you balance out a lot of that intensity with varying colors.
And as we've talked about today, in your head, when you're kind of like the feels, when you're talking about colors, you could also very well be talking about these emotions. So if you're going to have fear, balance out with a little bit of courage here. Or if you're going to be insecure, balance out with a little bit of courage there, you know, like stuff
Every
like that.
day. Every day.
I think we all have it, man. Everybody is insecure to a certain
that
point.
is my biggest challenge every single day.
Oh, dude, I agree with you completely, Jason. Thank you for being honest about that, man, because that's exactly the way that I feel sometimes too. I think we all do. It's so weird that we hide behind our faces so often. You know what I mean? I think that's the other part of this that I wanted to talk about too, is that like I was talking about that word embrace, you know what I mean? And empathy and stuff like that. And it's all of us. Every single person you meet has some form of insecurity in one form or another. And how we balance that out sometimes is the exact opposite of what it is that we're actually insecure about. A lot of confident people, sometimes it's not really confidence. You know what I mean? It's just like this over exuding mask of don't see this. You can't see this. A lot of people that are sometimes so quote unquote successful, that's exactly what it is. It's the fear of being alone or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's incredible to me that we go through our lives, our daily lives, even with not acknowledging this about each other. You know what I mean? And not being able to appreciate that space that we should give each other to have that. And I think it's important for us to be able to do that. And talking about it in this color scheme is a great way to do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm sitting there thinking, you were saying like assign it an emotion. And I kept going back to this idea is like, okay, so how do we do this? First of all, and then here's the other part of it too, Jason and Lauren, is like, what if you're colorblind?
Oh my God. Well,
what if you're colorblind?
He's got a
It
point,
doesn't
Lauren.
matter.
He's
Well,
got
it
a
doesn't.
point.
It doesn't matter
what if,
because
what if
we already.
red is not really red? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like it's that scientific test or that scientific experiment that this doctor did on his daughter. You know what I mean? I can't remember what year it's from, but he taught his daughter at a very young age that the sky it's not blue, it's actually gray. You know what I mean? He told her that the color blue is gray. What we learn in class and school is blue. So she goes to school and they're like, what color is the sky? Gray. No, it's not gray. It's actually blue. She's like, wait, no. What? No, it's gray. You know what I mean? Like, so the concept is just, I don't know, man. It just opens up all these other doors and these facets for me sometimes. And I think that's part of my issue, that I just tick, 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 tick.
I was thinking though, Ricardo, is that like it wouldn't matter because before we were kind of talking about it, color has several properties, and just because you can't have one doesn't mean like the other properties about it can't define what it actually is.
That's good. That's a good way to make it more concrete for sure. Absolutely. And then the color theory ideas. Oh my God, dude.
I use that because I have a lot of visions, honestly, and they come
Okay.
true. So I started labeling them colors so I know like how to kind of weave my way in and around it. So it just can apply to several aspects of your life.
Yeah, I feel you on the vision thing, man. I have these, like, I don't know, senses of things sometimes, dude, and you're like, oh, there it is. Yep. Or I'll think about a person and then I'll get a text message from them. Or I'll think about a person and they come to the shop the next day and like, what's up, dude? It's been a long time. Like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on here? You know, like, what is that? What do you guys think that is? Is it just becoming more and more in tune with each other, with ourselves? Is it something that we
Utilizing
don't pay
skills.
attention to? What?
Like when you sort your colors, all your inks and stuff like that, do you look for an ink based on the name, or do you look for the ink based on the color?
It's the color. It's the way
Yeah,
it looks
same.
in the bottle and the way it looks in the room. You know what I mean? The
But
way
it
looks
has
against the
a
register.
name still. So when you think about it, kind of like that concept, you kind of the same thing.
Okay.
See, I look at things more as like temperature as opposed to temperature and intensity, as opposed to like what color am I looking for?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, maybe I'm looking at, you know, say red spectrum, right? I know that, you know, if I'm looking at tattoo inks or whatever, we'll use tattoo inks as the perfect example. I know that it's going to be from raw, so I know it's going to be good. It's just finding the right tone, right? You know, do I want a cooler red or do I want a warmer red? You know, do I want a warmer blue or a cooler blue? Do I want a purple that's got a bit more of a red tone to it, or do I want a purple that's got a little bit more blue, a little bit more of like a blue violet? Same thing with greens. Do I want a warm or a cool? You know, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at all of the different colors that I have. Maybe I want some kind of a weird off tone that I got as a gift from someone, you know, or like a little like half-ounce sample bottle of a really weird color I never thought I would actually ever use. But then boom, here's the perfect situation for it, right? Like fig, never thought I would use it, and I love that color.
It's a fun color.
Dude, it's great. It's like perfect. It's like a middle of the road for everything.
Mm-hmm. It pretty much is, isn't it? It's like that perfect weird, I don't know.
It's
purple,
great for
gray.
blending. I wouldn't blend it with yellow, but I mean, every other color I've tried to blend it with, it's awesome.
Definitely softens it up sometimes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, James is a very, very wise person.
Speaking of, he said there's no,
sorry, Jason.
I'm just going to read what he said in the chat. There's no pure color, even white and black, or some color. But as soon as a new color is placed next to it, another is something new.
That's the relationship color theory. We know what a color is based in relationship to what it's next to. I just made that up, but it sounds smart.
Sounds pretty smart, yeah.
That's pretty smart.
Although I think color in and of itself is really weird because color is different wavelengths of light. Whether it's reflecting off of an object or whether or not it's, you know, coming directly from the source, wherever that may be, maybe the sun. Although the sun is not the only source of light in the universe, Thomas Edison proved that true. But, you know, there's going to be a wavelength of light. That's why light in and of itself has a warm or a cool tone. You know, perfect example. Lauren, looking at your video right now, I can tell that you have a warm light coming from the right side and a cool light coming from the left.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's giving you dynamic lighting across your face. And I'm not trying to like call you out on that or anything. That it actually works really, really well. It creates a dynamic mood. But light and color does have a specific frequency within which our eyes perceive it. And that's where you get people that may be colorblind, color different, or those really weird 1% of females in the world that actually have a fourth cone in their eye that can pick up millions more colors than everyone else. Those people are awesome, by the way. I don't know if anyone out there watching is one of those people. It's only found in females, and it's like 1% of the world's population, but they can actually see more colors than everyone else in the world. It's crazy, crazy.
Wow.
But that's the way our eyes perceive light, is based on the wavelength of light being reflected off of an object. Even the sky being blue is just a reflection of the blue of the water of the ocean, right? Being reflected off of the ozone, off of the atmosphere of Earth. That's what we are picking up. You know, so it's all just reflecting, bouncing wavelengths of light. The aurora borealis, same thing. Beautiful sunsets, same thing. It's just bouncing, reflecting different wavelengths of light. You know, so.
Yeah, man. No, yeah, that
Because
goes into play
science.
with the
That's
other
why.
theory.
Because science.
Like what you said what you said a little bit ago, though, Jason, is that like if we're gonna categorize things by these colors and things like that, I mean, there's a lot of colors we can't see by the naked eye too, that are very real around us at all times. You know what I mean?
The colors too that require an additional source in order to create that color
Right.
as like a
Exactly.
reflection.
So that could be the things that we like kind of ingest and the kind of things that we embrace and stuff like that in order to discover those new colors, right? I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I can only see so many colors, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely don't have that fourth cone.
Mhm.
But it
You must
actually
have
makes a lot of
female.
sense when you think about it. Well, that's true. Hence the beard, you know, although I do draw this on every morning. It's painstaking, but I do it. No, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You know, it really does. So, but you're right. Sometimes you require a secondary light source to create a different color. You know, but that's all in the way that your eyes perceive and pick up the wavelengths of light that it picks up.
So
That's how
basically,
it's the way light works. It's the way color
Mhm.
works. It's all just different wavelengths.
so we could say that the way we perceive things are exactly what our reality becomes, then, if that's what we've been
Oh,
talking
absolutely,
about, right?
without
Yeah.
question.
Yep.
It's all a matter of perception, as a very good friend of mine named Ricardo once said.
It's all a matter of perception.
He's a pretty cool dude.
He's very, very wise.
Oh man, dude. You guys,
He's someone that
kidding me.
I miss hanging out with.
Yeah, I think we're gonna
to.
have to make that happen again. I think we're gonna have to make that happen again soon. I think we should get
Dude, I just want to
together.
come out there and spend a few days and just like hang.
Come on up, man.
Maybe
Come
get
on up.
tattooed by you.
Oh, I would
Maybe I'll
love
I'll
have to do
see you
something
guys
on like the
there.
back of my neck.
I'll see you
That'd
guys
be
there
killer,
this
dude.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Come on,
I'll
let's
come up with
make it
something
happen.
somewhere.
Yeah,
I've
dude.
got, I think, what do I have left?
We'll do it something super simple, super simple.
Yeah,
'Cause I just
super
don't think I
small.
can handle that kind of pressure.
Well, I don't really have big areas left. So
Perfect. That's perfect.
I
Something
just
that
got
I can
started filling in the rest of my stomach, and that was terrible.
do. Yeah, dude. Kudos to you
10
for
out of
that,
10
man.
do not recommend, by the way.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Your
Getting your
stomach
stomach
tattooed?
tattooed. Oh, it was
Mhm.
brutal. 5.5 hours, and I was like,
Yeah.
Thankfully, he was using a ton of Bactine on me, so I was like, dude, if you keep using that, I'll be fine. But
Mhm. Man, you know what, dude? The second time I sat with Guy, it wasn't fun at all. Like hanging out with him, getting tattooed and stuff like that, or hanging out with them and talking about tattoos, talking about art, like looking at people's art and stuff like that, you know, tattoos and stuff. That was awesome. Hanging out with them is always a great time. Being at a hyperspace is awesome. Getting tattooed though sucked this time around. It was
was he
bad.
using the
Dude.
same machine?
The same machine. I think it's just because we went back into like what was there. You know what I mean? I think there's something about that. Or maybe I think it was just my frame of mind. I was kind of tired and stuff that day. You know what I mean? Like I woke up real early and drove down there that morning and stuff like that too. So it's what, how many hours was it from here? Jason, like 3.5 hours? About 3 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 hours, yeah. So yeah, no.
Was he using the Soul Nova Unlimited?
Soul Nova, yeah. Yeah.
The unlimited one, or did he still have
I-
the wired one?
It's the unlimited because that's the one without
so
the
it is
wire, right?
wireless.
Yeah, wireless, yeah.
Do you know if it was the 4mm or 3.5?
I couldn't
Don't know.
tell you. I couldn't
All
tell
right.
you. I know that I talked
Because
to
they
him about
actually,
it because
the reason why I ask is Cheyenne finally released that variable stroke machine he was using on my leg. So you can actually
that's
buy
right.
one of those now.
Nice.
What was it? The Unios or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't know. It's the new machine from Cheyenne.
It's a nice machine, man, and I really dig the disposable grips that they have for it too. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm actually gonna look into it. I think I might actually pick it up and give it a spin. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Chris
that's
Dunn
pretty
was
cool.
using one on my stomach, and that's why I was asking. The one
Okay.
he was using was fine. It wasn't really that bad. It wasn't like a super strong impact. It wasn't it was pretty gentle. It wasn't like super crazy as far as, the stroke length. It was the 3.5 millimeter. And I was talking to him about that. He's like, yeah, dude, sometimes the 4 millimeter can just be too aggressive.
Yeah.
Causes a little bit too much trauma, or just with that impact and the amount of velocity behind those pins can just cause excess pain. It's like, for me, for what I do, I only need the 3.5 because I'm taking it pretty easy and pretty light on people most of the time. I'm not
That's cool.
pushing
That's a cool discussion to have with Carson and Eli at Numa.
Yeah.
Late at night. Yeah,
oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to them about it, or are we talking about hypothetical conversations?
No, actual. When I was in Tahoe, it was oh my God, I'm so glad that I went to that show because it was low key, but it was in a casino. So everyone was up all night, all the time. And what was it, Sunday or something, when people can kind of let loose a little bit. It was cool to meet those guys and kind of see their arms and see the way they articulate what they're thinking about their product, essentially, with the difference between the stroke and like a kind of like that. Are you familiar with the way that the Newman machines work?
No, I'm not. I think
Jason might be better at, Jason would be better to explain it, but essentially like it doesn't need a longer stroke at all. It's not going, it's just kind of like
up and down.
Yeah.
Wow.
In and out.
Yeah, it's based on a different principle where it's not a standard offset cam like most rotaries. Even wireless machines like the Solnova Unlimited, the Flux, the EXO, any pen style machine, it's all based off of the same concept of an offset cam, right? It's kind of hard for me to illustrate. But it's essentially, you have your cam that's going around, right? And then you have another pin at the top of the cam that travels around that creates that up and down motion, right?
Oh, wow.
That's an offset cam, right? That's the way 90% of rotaries and pens out there are made, and that's the way that they work. Numa takes a completely different view on it. And it's a completely different type of construction and linear drive. But it's not actually a linear drive. It's interesting. But it actually has more of a feel. So if you remember using coils, how, especially with like things like liners, you would feel that real hard snap down, right? And that was your initial impact, but then it would back off after that. That's essentially the way that the drive mechanism in the Numas work. So it's a very hard initial down and then back off, right? Because you don't need to have that entire dwell time in the skin, and that's where I think a lot of people, and Carson's done lots of studies. Guy was there, he analyzed everything. And I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that, because that would have been like mind blowing.
Yeah.
For sure.
I have yet to actually pick up and use a Numa, but after having talked to Christina Christie at the Deadly Show, I already have an idea of which one I want to pick up.
If you go to a show with Numa, they have sometimes, like in Tahoe, they had it use it all day first. It was super cool. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to give it a go.
A few of my friends tried it out and they ended up buying them. So
nice.
Yeah, I from what I understand, it's going to have a better weight to it. And that's something I've always struggled with. I love the weight of the old coil machines because that was less downward pressure I needed to place using my hand, right? Because that was weight coming down onto that needle or the cartridge.
So there's like a counterbalance to it too.
Right. But it was still that downward weight. It was still a heavier weight, providing just that little bit more pressure. When I first switched over to using a pen, I had to completely change the way that I thought about things because I never used to really push at all. I used to just allow the machine's weight to carry it in. Why would I have to push? The machines are heavy enough, right? So I had to completely change the way that I think. And after talking to a couple of people that use Numas, and getting the kind that have a little bit more weight to it, like those brass grips, that actually acts in the same fashion that the weight of an old coil machine used to. So it's going to allow you to use it a little bit easier than having to learn how to actually put pressure on the machine. So that's my thoughts. I don't know. That and they look cool.
They do look
Beautiful.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that concludes my time for today.
Hope you feel better about today.
Yeah, for sure. This conversation, I always love coming up here and like talking about this stuff and everything with you guys. And thank you for being responding to it. So that's awesome.
Thank you for having us on.
But yeah, man, thank you for joining, Jason. Jason, want to tell everybody how to get a hold of
Send a raven.
That I will.
Multiples of ravens.
Yeah, you're probably going to need to send more than one. That usually the first one ends up getting lost, and you can find me on Instagram at Philly Inc. If you're going to be around physically. I know for a fact I'm going to be at the Resurrection Island show in October. I'll also be down in Puerto Rico in December.
Nice.
And I'm actually, I think I might try to get it together with Gabe to do a live in-person drunk critique from Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Since we're all going to be down there and we're all going to be having a blast anyway.
Yeah.
We might as well try to do some live streaming with it. So,
And
I
if I
think
was
it'll be
you,
a
I'd still
great
be
time.
if I was you, I'd still be recovering from the last one you hosted. I'm sure of it, dude. That was like
Dude.
months and months ago.
Bad. That was so
Yeah.
bad. I was so wasted at the end of that. That's
Oof.
one of the most drunk times I've been in a very, very
I
long
loved
time.
watching that.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah.
Been like, oh, yeah, keep going. No, Jason, stand up. You're okay. You're okay. We just want to watch you fall over. Mhm.
Like, whoop, camera comes with you.
Let me
Pretty much.
before we dip out too, I want to mention that next week is episode number 50. So congrats to you, Ricardo, for
Bravo.
for sticking it through. It's been 50 amazing weeks, almost to a year, which I've totally enjoyed. I remember when you first had the idea and the concept, and now it seems so far behind, but it's a huge accomplishment, and I'm definitely proud to be a part of it.
Thank you for being a part of it, Lauren. I couldn't do it without you guys. You guys have both been so supportive and helpful technically and personally and stuff like that, man. Thank you guys all so much, both of you. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll try to come up with something kind of special for the 50th episode. Maybe we can all kind of brainstorm a little bit and kind of talk about it, figure it all out.
Okay.
But yeah, that sounds awesome, man. Thank you for reminding me. I also want to take a moment and thank everybody in the chats on YouTube. James Wisdom, thank you for joining us. Creatures Cove, Bruno, you're an awesome dude. And let's see, was there somebody else in here? I think that was it. Yeah. But thank all of you guys so much.